If I asked you to name one culturally honoring value that comes from Korea, could you name one? Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jeff, and welcome to Ed Family, where our goal is to help our students find out what they're good at so that they can do good with it. I think helping our students know and tell their story, and also listening to other students tell their story, can be a very powerful experience in helping our students. So, actually, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, emailed me this. It was actually a contest. It's called the Korean Spirit and Culture Promotion Project. And I didn't know what to make of it at first, but when I started reading a little bit more about it, it became interesting. So I went to the website that they mentioned, which is kscpp.net, and I was able to get to this 15th nationwide essay contest. And so basically, entrants choose one of the following two questions. How could the values of Chung, Hyo, and Ye be applied to your daily life? Or which of the three values illustrated in the book, Chung, Hyo, and Ye, impressed you and why? And so, I had other colleagues that were interested in doing this. And by the way, if you wanted to see a free copy of this book, you just push this and get a free download of this book. And there are many stories in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and look at one. It's a story of Under the Burning Sun, which is an example of Hyo. And Hyo is filial piety. Now the book, the title of this story is called Under the Sun, and you can see that there's many stories in this book. This is on page 9, and they're just a couple of paragraphs long, but it's kind of like a parable. It tells there's like a moral to the story. And I think the moral to the story helps bring to light some culturally honoring aspects about Korea. Under the Burning Sun. A brush seller once arrived in a village and went to the village school to sell his wares. When he got there, he found several young children reading books on the veranda of the schoolhouse. Most of the children were in the shade, but one boy was sitting reading his book under the burning sun. The man thought this strange and asked the boy, "How old are you?" "I'm 7 years old," the boy replied. "Why are you reading under the sun while other students are on the cool floor?" The boy, wiping the sweat from his forehead, answered, "My family's poor, and my father works as a day laborer in order to pay for my school fees. My books, brushes, and papers are all the result of my father's hard work and sweat. I feel guilty on the cool floor while my father is working in the field in the summer heat. That is why I'm reading this book under the burning sun." Deeply moved, the brush seller praised the boy for his thoughtfulness toward his father and gave him his best brushes as a reward. Wow. So once again, here's this boy who just really understands the sacrifice that his father is providing providing for his son's education. And so as a result, what is the son doing? Really focusing on his learning and even putting himself in a position where he feels a little uncomfortable to identify and connect with his father. And this brush seller is deeply moved because this is a value, right? This idea of hyo, filial piety. So, when I think about a lot of Korean Americans, this is a Korean story, right? In Korea, so this is goes back, these kinds of ideas go back thousands of years. But if we look at Korean Americans stay in the United States, I would say that there's some connection to this kind of idea of hyo. So, for example, if I were to ask, is education a value in your family? Was it taught to you to be a value? I also know a lot of Korean American parents who sacrifice greatly. And this is in Korea too, but also Korean Americans who sacrifice greatly so that their children can have an opportunity to receive a good education. And then what's the reciprocal response? Children try their best, take it serious, and really appreciate their parents. It's kind of like reciprocal kind of relationship, and that creates harmony. Yeah, so is there something about this story that you think is culturally honoring? that as you listen to this story, you're like, you know what? That's not just a story that benefits people in Korea. This is not a story that just benefits people that are Korean American, but this is a story that can benefit you, right? Yeah, I was just walking around. I was just on a parent learning walk at my school today, and I had the opportunity to actually walk and have a learning walk with other Hispanic Latino parents, and they were talking about education and educación. And if those of you who are familiar with educación, it's not just scholarly learning, but it's also becoming the right kind of person, a gentleman and a lady. And I love that about the Hispanic and Latino culture, that education is not just scholastic and academic information, but it's becoming a gentleman and a lady and becoming the right kind of person of moral fortitude. And so that's a culturally honoring idea that comes from the Hispanic Latino culture. So when we know more about other cultures and think about what is culturally honoring, not only is that very respectful for others who could identify with that culture, but also enriching to our own personal lives, growing our compassion, understanding, and our own personal resilience. So if I could name one culturally honoring value that comes from Korea, if I asked you to name one, are you able to name one now? I hope so. If this was interesting YouTube for you and you're wanting to hear more stories, whether it's about culturally relevant pedagogy, ethnic studies, project-based learning, civic learning, or engagement, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. This is Dr. Jeff signing out.